Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Very glad to be here with you today. So I was creating the event for YouTube to let people know about it, and also on Facebook. Just this thought about me. It just came to me when I was meditating this morning, but the immediacy of peace. Like so many things in spirituality and just in our world, we have an idea of what we think it is, and then we go about our business as if that were actually the fact. And the thing about non-duality is that it reveals the true nature of the thing. That's why the phrase is used about this all being an illusion. Remember, an illusion isn't a hallucination. There is something here, but we misidentify it. And peace is one of those things that comes under that heading. And so I wanted to delve into it a little bit, because we have this idea that it's either a condition, right? Peace between nations or something, kind of an agreement we've come to that we're not going to beat each other up. Maybe even cooperate. Very conditional, right? And of course, if somebody changes their mind or something goes south, well, then that state of peace disappears pretty quickly. In spiritual circles, it's often regarded as some kind of a state, a peak experience, something that you experience, and then there's the pursuit of that as a permanent experience, that we want to be permanently in this experience of peace. But the fact is that is also conditional, because if it is merely a state, we go in and out of it, and there's nothing that can stop us from going in and out of it. Anything that has a beginning is going to have an end. Any event will have some kind of terminus. It's just inevitable. No matter how delicious a state may be, it will pass. So if we're going to ever have such a thing as a genuine, permanent, unchanging peace, it can't be conditional. And here's the mind blower. If it's permanent and unchanging, it must be present now. It cannot have a starting point, ever, because then it would have an end. If such a thing exists, it must be present. And if it's present, we must simply be overlooking it. We must be thinking it's something else. We must be walking past it without knowing what it is. And I'm asserting here that that's in fact the case. And that peace is actually another name for the self. And in the Hindu, Sat Chit Ananda, which is translated as bliss, is not the ecstatic happiness that we associate with bliss. Right? It is peace. It is stillness. It is quiet, and it's inherent in being itself. But rather than talk about it, let's go look for it. Okay, let's just take a moment and actually go look to see if we can rightly identify peace. So I invite you all now to close your eyes if you can. You may be somewhere where you can't do that. And just start by taking a couple of conscious breaths, slowed down and deep, to just kind of signal to the body that we're turning attention inward. Because if it's a peace that we want to feel, then it's got to be within. It can't be any kind of condition. And everything experienced externally is conditional. So just as you're sinking into that, just put your attention on the feeling of your body. Now, we're not going to try to stop the mind. That's a waste of time. We're just going to notice it. We're just choosing in this moment to disregard it. Even your highest aspirations for enlightenment or the Buddhahood, set those aside too. So there's nothing here that is getting your attention other than just the feeling of the presence of your body. And then just notice that there is this constant flow of sensation. They say it's 60 billion bits a second, which I don't know how to count that, but just notice that it is constant and that you're not making it happen. It's happening all by itself. Same thing is actually true with thought and emotion. Now, as you bring your attention inward like this, which is what we're doing, starting with the body, things are going to bubble up in the mind. Thoughts are going to appear. Just don't give them any regard. No thought is interesting, at least for a little bit here. And just feel. Now just take one little step inward more deeply, and that is to just notice, it's very subtle, just a sense of your own presence. That there's something aware of the thoughts, the sensations, and the emotions. There's just this sense of presence. And again, notice, you didn't create it. It's just here. It's also effortless. It requires nothing in order to sustain it. And it's totally still, silent, motionless, as well as effortless. And that stillness, isn't that peace? Now, is that something separate from you? Or is it right at the heart of you? This is peace. This is Ananda. Presence, stillness, even awakening. And notice how it's been here the whole time. It hasn't gone anywhere. And now, aware of that sense of peace, of presence, of stillness, notice that sensations are still there. So are emotions. So are thoughts. They don't have to go away in order to be aware of this. Just aware of your own self-aware existence. I am. And that's the truth no matter what the thoughts are that are passing by, no matter what the emotions are that are passing by, or the sensations, they don't displace this peace. They like appear within it. Notice, it's not a peak experience. It's not something special. It's no colored lights or angels singing. It's more immediate than even that. It's just been overlooked, mistaken. So peace, in fact, is just another name for you. You are that. So take a breath, and as you come back and open your eyes, notice that it's not going anywhere. There's just different information being received. It's like silence, right? We think of silence as interrupted by sound, but when the sound goes away, does then silence appear from somewhere? Is it like waiting for its turn? Like the sound comes and then silence steps aside and then it goes, and when the sound goes away, it jumps right back in again. No, it's always there. It is always the background. Your being, your existence is always the background, and your existence is forever in this peace. Not even in this peace. It is your very nature. You can't, there's no separation. It is not a state at all. It is being itself. Your being, not an abstract being, but your very being, as you just saw. So, on that note, welcome again, everyone, to Satsang. I'm going to say hello to everyone now as I sip on my tea. If they ever do a caricature of me, I'm going to be holding this cup, this totally insignificant cup that for some reason I'm very attached to. I lost the lid for it that allowed me to use it for sipping coffee and the like, which I wish I had, but I just can't let it go. It even had a little space on the bottom for putting sugar and stuff, which I never take. So I filled it up with rocks so it wouldn't fall over. And that's the story of the cup. A lot of people have asked about it, although not recently. Hello, Merck. Good evening from sunny Sweden. Well, yeah. Like all day, right? Like no night. Starting to see that the primordial peace is not a feeling like joy, but rather underlying all feelings all the time, uncaused. Very good, yes. Yes, that's exactly the case. And what's important in non-dual inquiry is that it doesn't just stop with that recognition, but it continues to the direct experience of it, like in the meditation we just did. So it isn't just, oh yes, it's always here as a thought, it's always here as a direct experience of seeing it always here. And of course, you're always here. You don't come and go. You certainly notice that, right? So peace and you are one. Truth and you are one. Life and you are one. The universe and you are one. because everything that is permanent, which is truth, and is always here. And what can recognize that something is always here except something that is always here? Which would be you. You are peace. Isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely to know? Hello, Robbie in Romania. And there's Eva in Poland. So wonderful to be here. Rosario in Madrid. Carl in sunny Ireland. Good to see you. David and Elaine. Hello, gorgeously sunny UK. Oh, wonderful. God, you guys are having... And we're back on the clouds here in Seattle. Had a few sunny days, been happy about. Ursula in Portugal. There's Alessandra in Monterey. Anja in Germany. Egle. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but welcome back. Jennifer is in Pennsylvania. Dorte in Denmark. John in Scotland. Is that right? Oops. John in Scotland, yeah. John Watson in Scotland. And Barbara in Sweden. Wow. Karina, hi GP, not sure if you get the comments here. I do get the Facebook comments. Sometimes they don't, they're a little flighty, but as long as you've revealed your name, right, because you have to give Facebook permission for that to be distributed to my broadcast system here as well. So, but I can see you, and I am getting the comments. So, lovely. Those of you who may be on Facebook, please follow that link that's in at the bottom of the description, or maybe at the top. I think it's at the bottom, so that I actually know who you are, unless you want to remain anonymous, which you're fully allowed to do. There's Jonas. Hello, sir, beloveds. There's Jerry's. Hi, GP Walsh and everyone. Hello, sir. Good to see you. I think, sir, Jerry's. I think so. Yes. And Krishna Das, Maha Mantra Hare Krishna, highly recommended this song. Highly recommend the song. Goes hand in hand with GP's wisdom. Thank you. Playan, also in Sweden. Jennifer, so grateful for you. Peter, hello everyone. From Ravi, there's Dazo. Good evening from England. Hello, Dazo. I think you might be new. Carl Lucy, hi GP and Cup. Answering another question of mine, you said there was no childhood. Could you explain this more, please? Would I not be dismissing this aspect of me that it did experience childhood? Thank you so much. Yes, very good question. And so many of you have experienced stuff that I've done using EFT and processing traumas and things like that, which I do a great deal of. That's part of the healing work that I do. And it would seem on the surface to be contradictory to the non-dual approach. And you may have heard some non-dual teachers talking about there's nobody here, there's nothing to do. If you try to bring up something like that, they'll just tell you there is no childhood, you had no experience. And that is true. That is true. But there was a time, many, many years ago, when I would have spoken like that, because I was a bit lost, a bit stuck in the absolute. Right? It's an easy place to get stuck. It's so internally consistent. It's so very satisfying. It's very intelligent. And what cured me of that was suffering. Simple as that. What finally knocked me out of my being stuck in the absolute was suffering. Interestingly enough, a friend of mine who's a Zen master had exactly the same experience. Right? It was suffering. And finally, rather than trying to explain suffering away, embraced suffering instead as part of the absolute. Embracing the entirety of human experience, which is at the heart of Zen Buddhism. And it was Zen Buddhism, of course, that revealed that in its entirety to me, and that essential wisdom. So we're forever. This is the skillful means of teaching. Buddha taught at the level of the people who were hearing. When he was sitting with his close disciples, his bodhisattvas, he spoke one way. Like the Lankavatara Sutra is aimed at that group, right? As is the Heart Sutra, is really aimed at the bodhisattva, the one who has embraced the suffering, no longer pushing it away, no longer trying to be stuck in the absolute. And so the skillful means become how do you best serve whoever it is that happens to be in front of you in this moment. And the way you do that is to simply have as your primary intention alleviating suffering. Now, ultimately, the ultimate end of suffering comes from the complete dissolution of the sufferer. That is, the end of the illusion of the egoic mind, which is the end of the sufferer. And if there's no sufferer, there's no suffering. Right? Bringing someone to the point where you can dismantle, completely deconstruct the egoic sense of identity is not something you can do in one fell swoop. It's very rare that somebody has, through multiple lifetimes, already cultivated themselves to the point where an enlightenment like that can take place. The sixth patriarch of Zen in China, I can never pronounce their names, Huan something or other, was completely illiterate. He was a young boy, he was about 10, 11 years old, illiterate, couldn't read or write. His mother was ill. He used to go out and just collect firewood and do whatever he could to make enough money to keep them alive. And one day, about 10 or 11 years old, he heard a monk chanting the Diamond Sutra and was immediately, completely awakened. He completely woke up. He became the sixth patriarch of Zen in China. His whole story is an absolutely fascinating one, and he even ended that dynasty of patriarchs after that. So he's a remarkable figure, but it's very, very, very rare when somebody can, hearing that pure expression of truth, the Diamond Sutra, sometimes called the Diamond Cutters Sutra, and have an instantaneous awakening. Most of us are still on the path of preparation. Right? We need to prepare for that moment when the door swings open, when that aperture opens and it doesn't close again. Right? So that requires skillful means, that requires teaching, that requires training, it requires practice. Now, somebody could argue from the absolute, no, there's no sufferer, so there's nothing to practice. There are no teachers, there's no teaching. And I hope you can see that's all true, right? Arriving at that, where it becomes more than just an intellectual concept, it becomes your lived experience, is what true spirituality is all about. So somebody comes to me. Most of the people who come to me are only ready for little bits and pieces of that deeper sense. Right? After a while, working through a lot of stuff, you begin to see that what we thought was ourselves was nothing more than the conditioning of the nervous system. That the way the body-mind adapted itself to the environment to the point where it became kind of fixed automatic behavior, got mistaken for myself. Okay? At that point, there's a separation that has taken place that allows me now to understand it when a teacher says, who you really are. That who you really are is not who you think you are. Right? That's inconceivable as while I'm still thoroughly identified with conditioning. So this creating this gap there, where the opportunity to investigate the possibility that I'm not what I think I am, that I'm something completely different, and that I have been living as if I was somebody. And because the mind is so powerful, if I really believe I am that person, I will experience life as if I was, even though I'm not. Which is a relatively advanced idea. But you can see now that the door begins to open to, oh, well, if that isn't me, then what is me? And now the question, who am I, has some roots to it. It's got some depth. It can begin to penetrate. As long as the who am I question is all intermingled with the identity still very closely identified with the conditioned self, I think, who am I? The I that you'll be inquiring into will be this false sense of self. That split has to take place first. And then the question starts, then the question gets, the tentacles start going very, very, very deep. Right? So, yes, you cannot suppress that stuff. Right? All of the experiences we had that made up the conditioning, we cannot suppress those. And the more I'm aware that it is conditioning, the less need I have for suppressing it, right? The more I'm in the state of allowing instead of resistance. I let it come up because the more I know who I am, the less intimidated or afraid I am of what happens to be coming up. Like in the meditation at the beginning, you notice if you got to that place, even just a bit of the taste of that place of peace, the thoughts that were coming up, the sensations were coming, were not as intimidating. Yeah, they were still there, right? But they were no longer overwhelming. Why? Because you're not identified with them. Your well-being, your peace does not depend upon the presence or absence of anything. And therefore, something being present or something not being present isn't going to have the traumatic experience that it would. Which is, of course, opens up the door to the depths of the traumas that have created this conditioning to finally be released. And then what happens is that the human being starts to become more harmonious. The human being, not because you've improved it, but because you've freed it, right? But you can't free it if you think it's you. You have to first become separate from it and recognize that it's basically a rescue dog. I mean, it's been traumatized and it's reacting in so many different ways, but it's not myself. Now I can regard it with great compassion. I can embrace that suffering because it doesn't make me suffer. This is what allows you to take on the suffering of others. Not like, the empath that gets all lost in it, but as the vestibule in which it can be transmuted. That energy can be transformed from suffering into happiness without a dependency on any of it. This is what is meant when it says that Christ took on the sins of the world. That's what it means, and not what the evangelicals tell you. That's nonsense. So I hope that answers it for you, Carl. You don't want to suppress or dismiss, but you don't want to have the floodgates opened when you're not in a position of power, right? I mean, the act of suppressing and dismissing is also a natural function of the nervous system. It had to suppress it because the reality of it was just too painful, right? And so a lot of the stuff had to be suppressed. Off to the basement it went. So when you're beginning to discover who you really are, you can begin to open the door to that basement that's full of nasty stuff. And you can let it, and you can now let it, it doesn't need to be suppressed anymore. But remember, their nervous system is in the habit of suppressing it because it's convinced that if it doesn't, all hell is going to break loose. And little by little, it begins to respond and begins to let go, like the rescue dog, which begins to respond. It doesn't cower every time you raise your hand. When you put your hand out to it, it doesn't back off. It begins to expect love. It expects kindness. And so, yeah, I think I can leave it at that. So, this is the skillful means, right? Which is lost in a lot of the non-dual teaching that we see out there, and you can feel it. There's just kind of an absence of heart to it. It has not sensitized itself. It has not embraced the sufferer. It has not embraced human life. It has rejected human life. It explains it away rather than subsumes it into itself. And then human life, little by little, becomes integrated back into the self. It is no longer something separate, and humanity is liberated. The expression of the self is liberated from the egoic mind, and is free to be, is free now to become the absolute ideal vehicle for the expression of the infinite self, which in its purity has no form or mode of expression whatsoever. Does that answer it for you, Carl? Hopefully. Hopefully. Brent. Hey, Brent, good to see you. Egle, you pronounced it pretty good. Thank you. You're welcome. Great intro, GP. John Watson, do I have a soul? And if so, what is it? It reminds me of the Zen koan, Zen koan mu, where a young monk asks Joshu, the very famous Zen master, many koans come from him, asks him in all sincerity, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Now, in Buddhism, of course, one of the primary tenets of Buddhism is that everything has Buddha nature. So he asks in sincerity. So first off, because it's a tenet and the monk is asking the question, the monk is sensing something deeper there, obviously. He's not just accepting that it has Buddha nature or not. And Joshu answers him, mu, which means no. In Chinese, mu is in Chinese. In Japanese, it's even more funny. The answer is woo, like a dog barking. Does it have Buddha nature or not? He says no. He just contradicts a fundamental tenet of Buddhism. Why did he do that? Well, we want to get you out of the mind, right, to thinking about having a Buddha nature. Right? And the key word there is have. Does the dog have Buddha nature? Is there a dog and then there's Buddha nature? Now, do you have a soul or not? There's me, and I have a soul. So there's me and a soul. Well, then what am I? More important than what is this, if it's something I have, Well, then, who am I that has it? That becomes a much more important question, isn't it? We could say, oh, what's the soul then? Oh, it's this ethereal body. It's kind of like a form, but you can stick your hand through it. It's a style of music. Do you have a soul or not? In either case, you answer that yes or no, you're going to be wrong. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Because the key word is have. What is it that has or does not have? What it has or does not have is obviously conditional and transient, isn't it? It's going to come and go. So if you have a soul, that soul is yet another thing that is impermanent. It cannot be immortal. And it had a beginning, it would have to have an ending. So what then do you actually have? Do you have being? Is being something you have? If so, then what are you that has it? This is the existential nature of non-dual inquiry. It can't be a have or not have. It must be a be or not be. Soul is simply another word for self. It's got a particular flavor about it, kind of creative, energetic, right? Whereas different than truth or spirit or something like that. It's very colorful, got a lot of soul, right? It's kind of like depth to it. But it's an aspect of what? Of the self. You could even call it a synonym for the self. It's just another word for the self. Do you have the self or are you the self? Do you have being or are you being? Do you have peace or are you peace? This is the question we have to ponder, and you'll notice how the mind is always separating and analyzing. Because when I am it, the mind becomes irrelevant. There's nothing to think about at this point. In fact, thinking is completely the wrong tool for self-awareness, for self-knowledge, because it always divides things up. Do you have a soul or not? Moo. Woo. You are the soul. Learn to think in terms of being, to be, rather than any other form. When it comes to the self, it's always the verb to be. It is never to have, to get, to go, to think, to feel. It is always to be. Because would any of those things happen? Could any of those things exist? Having, doing, being, not being, having, doing, getting, thinking, feeling, knowing. Could any of those exist without you being first? Your being is the primary. It all starts there. Go to the being. That's what we did in the opening meditation. We went to being. And we found that being and peace are one. You found that. You didn't think about it. You didn't arrive at that, right? You can, right? Which can point the way inward. But we just went there and saw for ourselves. Oh, being is peace. They're the same thing. The mind abstracts things, right? The thought process has to have subjects and objects. It has to. That's the nature of thinking. It's the nature of discursive thought. Nothing wrong with it, right? It works for everything. You can describe everything, right? It's really good, especially for language. We can talk. But it becomes moot. It ends, right? Its usefulness ends at the level of being, in the existential, the level which is the level of oneness, because it is dualistic by nature. and cannot grasp or participate in the non-dual. So the non-dual is the direct experience of myself as all. The totality of my experience, the immediacy of peace, the singularity of being. So, does that answer it, John? Do you have a soul or not? And what is it? Well, it's you. So you don't have it, you are it, which answers to your second question, what is it? It's you, it's yourself. This very quiet sense of being is the soul. It's the heart. It's the truth. It's what is. It's reality. It is Satchidananda. Ooh, wonderful. Dale, good afternoon. East Coast. Good afternoon to you, Dale. Hassan, how to stop resisting fearful emotions and let them go. Good, very good question, and thank you for bringing that up. Remember, resistance is simply a way we have been trained, and we were all trained to be in resistance based on the universal belief that if we resist something, that it'll eventually go away. Resistance it's a form of suppressing. Get rid of it, push it away. Don't feel it. Which, by the way, at a certain time in our life we had to do. Until there's enough wisdom to kind of head back down into that mine to find out what's going on, suppression is absolutely necessary. The suppression is what keeps you alive. It's what keeps the energetic trauma, the energy of trauma in the basement, so that it doesn't overwhelm you and overwhelm the whole organism and kill you. Because that's what happens. It is, these kinds of traumas are a very primordial existential fear. The child that feels threatened by its parents is experiencing a fear of death. It's because it's life and death. Without your parents, you do not survive for a very long time, right? A very long time. In the beginning, it's not very long at all. I mean, you have a little more chance as you get older, but it's usually not until puberty that we really have a chance to survive, right? Somewhere around that, pre-adolescent and the like, we might be. Well, in a more primitive time, in a time when life was more simpler and connected to nature, you would stand a chance of being able to survive. Now, no. you couldn't, right? So all of that said, we have to look at it as part of the mechanism, right, that we've just been trained into that has become habitual, right? Now, part of the way in which the suppression works and resistance works is to characterize the emotions in such a way that it makes us have a religious or a philosophical belief that they shouldn't be felt, that it's bad to feel them, that they are destructive, they're going to hurt you, right? To take just a look at it to see, well, it's just a feeling, right? Will it actually kill me as I used to think it would? Well, probably not. Just feeling fear, right, unless it's incredibly intense, is not going to kill me. Right? So noticing, I'm just shifting your relationship with the fear. We're putting our attention on it. Even before we're allowing ourselves to feel it, we're not running away from it. We're looking at it. What is it actually? And I mean, if it really is something that is life-threatening, well, then I should not allow myself to feel it. It would make perfect sense. And initially, when the suppression began, that's exactly what was believed. So now we're simply looking at that assumption. I'm looking at it now, and I'm going, okay, if I feel this fear, what's going to happen? And now you can begin to just go, okay, what if I was to let myself feel a little bit of it for just a moment, just to see what happens? Because now I'm curious. Maybe the boogeyman is in my mind. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. And I've not even let myself go there because I was convinced it would be so bad. What if that's just an assumption and it's not necessarily true? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's let a little bit in and see what happens. Now, you can show yourself that it's safe to do that because the whole nervous system has already been effectively suppressing it for decades, right? So if you open that door a bit and it really is overwhelming, we just, well, okay, suppress it again. Job done. We found out what we needed to find out. So there, you can safely do this, right? And then let a little bit in and then see what happens. Oh, okay, how was that? It's not too bad. Let's check inside. No, not too bad. All right, I'll let it go for now. Okay. And then maybe a little bit more. This is the yoga of allowing. A practice of little by little opening up that door to discover that most of the threat was in the mind, not in the feeling itself. And this is the big insight. Oh, it's what I believed about it that was so threatening, not the feeling itself. And the doors begin to open, and the stuff comes up, and it can come up, and you may even feel it overwhelm the body, but you go, oh yeah, okay, breathe into it, it's not going to kill me, it's all right. If it gets too intense, I can just shut it back down again. Ah, yeah, okay. And you just notice that like everything, it just comes and goes. It passes through. When I stop fighting it, it doesn't stay. It hangs for a bit and then just kind of dissipates. Well, look at that. It isn't permanent. What is permanent? Oh, well, I am. And the whole door begins to open, not only for the therapeutics of energy healing, but also for the inquiry, the depth of self-inquiry. You're creating the environment that makes the inquiry possible. So I call it the yoga of allowing. Sometimes the yoga of equanimity. And it's a training. You're little by little establishing a different relationship with your own feelings, even the intense ones. And this is something where I will also use EFT to help by engaging the body in the process of being able to adjust this relationship so it's no longer as intimidating. And you begin to, and little by little, you begin to get mastery over it. Something that before would have got, had you running in the other direction will simply just kind of pass by in a wave. And you'll find yourself just becoming more equanimous about everything, to the point where nothing will bother you. Nothing will bother you. Or the rare thing will bother you. You just simply won't have that same kind of reactiveness because you are now at home. You're comfortable with what it feels like to be a human being and the full range of emotions and sensations that go with it. So it's important, because I hear this, how do I let them go? Remember, letting something go does not mean pushing it away or getting rid of it. If I'm pushing it away, I'm not letting it go. I'm still engaged with it. Letting go means take your hands off. Just take your hands off. Let go. Let go of your intention for it. Let go of what you want for it. Let go of wanting for it to go away. And just let go and watch it. It may be difficult at first, but eventually you'll find, oh, I'm just watching it and nothing really is happening. The threat was in my mind, not in the thing. And you'll also find, when you let go, that suddenly there's a whole lot of energy available to you that there wasn't before, because it was all going into trying to hold this thing back. All of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, look, I've I got all sorts of creative energy here. It's like holding a beach ball underwater, right? You can't do much else. If you ever tried to do it, you might balance it for a second while you grab for something, right? But what happens if you do this? Your hands are free. The beach ball just comes up to the surface. It may bump into you, but eventually it'll float away, right? You don't have to, push back down, right? Just, it bumps into you, okay. Hands are off. This is the deeper meaning of letting go, right? Because I heard a lot, there's, even some techniques that letting go is the whole technique. And it just gets interpreted as goes away. It isn't. Hands off. And watch it. And you become the aware witness of it. And eventually that witnessing becomes so strong, it cannot be intimidated. It can witness anything. Right? And because there's nothing left there to react to it. And all the story about it is gone. And it's the pure experience of what happens to be here. And whatever happens to be here cannot intimidate you. Only your beliefs about it can. I think I've covered that thoroughly. Thank you, Hassan. Rabi, I feel more and more peace and happiness as time goes on, and I live in presence. At the same time, I feel sadness that my partner is suffering. I love her so much and want her to discover this peace. I sense she's maybe not ready for it. Is there any way I can help her? The deeper I go into I am, is maybe the best help for others? Yes. Yes. Well, first off, establishing yourself there, abiding there, creates the atmosphere in your home together. I'm assuming a home. You may be just a girlfriend, but I suspect you're living together. You refer to it as partners, so I suspect you're living together. And put aside the sadness. The sadness arises from you're holding a picture of her as someone who isn't living in peace, who does not know the self, who has somehow become separated from their true self. That picture exists only in your mind. This is how the Bodhisattva saves all beings from suffering. Not going out and make some being, fixing some being, but to realize that the being that is suffering is only in your mind. So eradicate from your idea, your thought flow, any idea that anything other than the self exists. Let that sense of presence be universal. There is nobody who is not in awareness. There is nobody who doesn't recognize the self. That is only a belief that there is. And then the suffering person will disappear from your consciousness. And of course, there's still some reflection because there's still a sense of person in you that might suffer. Like, I live in presence, right? Is presence something other than you? Is there an I living in presence? Right? Notice the subtle duality. Or is I and presence the same thing? Could there be an I without being present? Presence is the true I. Is your partner present? They are the true I. Don't hold any thought of anyone that is less than the self. And that will open the door for a way for that to appear as the manifest reality in your life. At first, see this as a challenge to your sense of presence, that there's something outside of that presence. Not that there's someone who doesn't have a sense of, who does not know who they are and is not living in peace. But you are being invited into the belief that there is someone who does not know who they are and is not living in peace. This is an advanced concept, okay? but I think you might be ready for it. To take all of this into yourself. Remember the Bodhisattva vow, right? Suffering beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. And having saved all beings, no being has been saved. Where's the suffering being being saved? In the heart and mind of the Bodhisattva. That will appear on the surface to the observer as somebody getting healed, somebody awakening, somebody having an experience of peace. But you'll know what's really happening. That's only how it appears. That's not what's actually happening. What's actually happening is, the truth is revealing itself in the manifest. That is the manifest consciousness. And even the manifest consciousness is one with the I. So that it isn't something out there. There is not a world manifest. It is completely within the self. The world in the self is the self, like your dream at night. So completely eradicate from your sense of self the sense of other. And miracles will happen. Miracles will happen. And you don't abide in presence, abide as presence. When you meditate, meditate as presence. When you sit in meditation, sit as the Buddha. Do not sit to become the Buddha. Do not sit to become enlightened. Sit as enlightened. Enlightenment is sitting. Enlightenment is asking questions. Enlightenment is in satsang. Enlightenment is listening to this guy on the screen. Let there be nothing other than the self. There's not even somebody on their way to the self. There is only the self. And you are that. It says in the Ribhu Gita, everything is the Supreme Being, which is being, consciousness, bliss, and you are that. Everything is the Supreme Being, and you are that. Notice, there's no concession there. Notice, almost, and there's those that are like on their way, that are getting that. And there's those that are prepared, those that are on their way to being prepared, and those that aren't prepared at all. All concepts, none of it's real. There is only the self, and you are that. Make no concession to duality. Unless you're speaking and healing. This is the art of it. So I may seem a little contradictory at times, but I'm not. Trust me. So don't hold the thought of her as not ready for it. She is the self. Make no other concession. Agree with no other thought. Any other thought, anything that appears to you, to consciousness, that suggests there's another self, break it in two. Annihilate it. Okay? Like a dry stick. Break it over your leg and throw it away. It is not true. Period. To be or not to be? Who asks the question? Well, the only thing that can ask a question is that which is conscious of the question. Right? That which is not conscious cannot ask a question, cannot answer a question, cannot hear the answer. Only consciousness, which is beingness, which isness, right? Consciousness is. There's no mistake of that. That's self-evident. You are, right? And you know you are. That's consciousness, right? You're hearing my words. That's consciousness. Right? You're hearing a question arises. It arises to consciousness. It arises in consciousness. So who's asking the question? Well, consciousness is, in a sense. You could say the question simply arises in consciousness, and there's nobody really asking it. It's not like there's also somebody. But what happens in consciousness is a sense of self arises as someone asking a question. That sense of someone asking a question, right, is the illusion. There's nobody there actually asking. It's just a sense of someone, which is actually kind of par for the course. Like, the sense of music has a musician, right? It's kind of part of it. The question and the questioner are one. But they're not independent of each other, and they don't have an existence that predates or survives the asking of the question itself. It is a dependent arising. The question, the questioner, and the questioning all arise simultaneously, as does the answer, the answering, and the answerer. That is the question. To be or not to be, that is the question. To be or not to be, you don't have a choice. You do not have a choice. You just are. Right? To ponder beingness is the most delicious thing to do, because it is not contingent. It is not a have or a have not. It is what is, pondering being. This is the great gift of the human being, to ponder, the capacity to be self-aware. When you look around at all of nature, right, for all the magnificence that the other critters have, it is the one thing they don't. They do not have a sense of the capacity to ponder the sense of I. They have a sense of I, of course they do. But like, little children or something, it's pure undifferentiated consciousness. They just are that. We have this unique, extraordinary capacity to be aware of being aware, and to marvel at it. This is the gift. Ponder that until you become one with everything. You become one with all those beings. You become all beings pondering themselves. You are the tree pondering itself. You're the catfish. You're the quasar. You're the sunset pondering itself and appreciating its own beauty. Ah, what a gift it is to be born a human. Isabel. Hi, Isabel. Good to see you. Neutrality. May I ask what GP stands for? Gregory Paul. That is my given name. Yeah. Gregory Paul. I may actually start using that again at some point, but GP is just stuck. Just a nickname I got. Some just call me G. and some people... There's actually maybe some people, maybe not here today, that have known me for so long. It's before I even got known as that. And they still call me Greg. But Gregory Paul is my name. Pinky Floyd. I like that. Just another chink in the wall, brick in the wall. Play on. In Swedish, soul is, I can't pronounce it, and self is very similar. Yes, actually, soul in Sanskrit, Atma, is the same word, soul or self. They're actually interchangeable. We made a distinction. Well, I should say Christianity, or maybe all the Abrahamic religions, made a distinction because they wanted the immortal soul, that which survived the body, because that's what's going to go on to either be rewarded or punished. But it's kind of weird because then they get all upset because people say we evolved from apes. I didn't evolve from the ape, but you're the soul. Don't worry about it. I have nothing to do with that. But anyway, I'm digressing. It's only in kind of the Western mind that it's somehow kind of got separated out and became a thing. It's simply it's the self in Sanskrit. It's synonymous with Brahman. It is simply the self, the soul. So you'll see it, Atman, or Atma, translated as soul, which you'll also translate it as self, as being. So anyway, never thought about that before. Realized that now while you were talking about it, GP. How about that? Yes, they're the same. How about that? Play on. Very good. Yes. Yeah. And what it illustrates, and this is really significant, it's a big part of non-dual inquiry, is taking a step back and looking past and actually examining our assumptions about words and about their meaning. It's very important. We use words all the time, and the meaning of them is assumed. So when we talk about the soul, it has a certain meaning within our particular culture that is just we just take for granted. And so we're thinking, we say, well, what's the soul? And we take a step back and say, well, set aside your assumptions about it and let's look at what we're actually dealing with. Non-dual inquiry is always a going back to the direct experience. That's why in meditation I always start by going into the body, because this is a direct experience. And you don't need any thought or concepts or ideas or ideology or theology to simply experience your body. The experience itself is pure experience. You don't need an idea for it. And then you can begin to see that our ideas about it are really just arbitrary. And then you dive more and more into the actual experience itself. You go, oh, this presence, well, that's what a soul is. When I'm talking about soul, I'm talking about myself. It's not an abstraction. Soul in the West is an abstraction. It's this idea of life after death. It's a version of me, but I'm more transparent and I can stick my hand through it. That's about it. Right? Because if it's formless, well, then I would have to be the soul, capital S, the only soul, which is in fact more accurate. Right? The para-atman, or the one soul. So, very good, very good. Golden Tiger, can you explain the nothing ever happens? Yeah, I can. Well, first off, on a practical level, right, we look around and there's things happening all the time, right? You know, your computer's working now, I'm sitting here, I'm talking away, there's, stuff is happening. There's a flow of events taking on and going on. And when we look at it just from that point of view, at the level of just a conventional level, with the language talking about events happening, and events happening in time, time being a measurement between events and that sort of thing. It's harmless. It's not important, right? So when somebody comes along and says nothing ever happens, it can be just very confusing, right? And there'll be non-dual teachers that will kind of throw that out there. They may even understand what that actually means, but it's just nothing but confusion without a bit of preparation to bring you to that point, right? Our everyday life, we have come to experience and conceptualize and describe and compare and use words to communicate in terms of events happening. I went to a show, I had dinner, I took a walk, I was meditating, all as distinct events taking place, right? Now, what's actually happening, right? Going in a level now, a deeper level, recognizing that at that level we can speak in. And I'm doing that right now, aren't I? And I have to. In order for us to be able to communicate at all, I have to use these conventional instruments, right, that language is based on. Right? So set all that aside. That's very good. No problem there. So, but in non-dual inquiry, what we want to do is we want to go past just our conception of what's being experienced, our means of expressing it in language, to the direct experience itself, and see if these assumptions still hold up. It's okay in everyday life, we can use that, but is that the reality, right? And we want to know the reality. The main reason we want to know the reality is because if we mistake reality, we suffer, right? We want to control events, right? And we suffer. We want events to go in a way that we want them to go. And we want some things to come and some other things to go. And we suffer because of that. And then our ideas about events are there's something I can make happen or I can stop from happening, right? And so on that level, while it's very functional, it also creates suffering. When it's viewed as existentially, it becomes an ingredient in suffering. So let's go look back at what it is in essence. Come all the way back in. What am I experiencing? Now, if I just turn my attention, like we did in the opening meditation, there's simply this experience of sensation, emotion, and thought, right? Now, don't label any of those. I have to use the words, obviously. But notice that you don't need to label a specific event or a specific thing going on to have the experience. And then notice that experience itself is not chopped up into little bitty pieces. It's a flow. It's absolutely continuous. Right? It never stops. Right? Now, if I draw my attention to one thing, I can isolate that thing, and I can say, this thing happened. But if I step back and look at the entire picture, where's the thing? Right? The thing requires me to put a boundary on it. I can time slice it very, very thin, or I can make it like this. I can talk about something that happened at 2:03 and 30 seconds yesterday, or I can talk about something in mid-afternoon, right? Now, what's the difference? Suddenly you see that what's happening is a constant flow. And I can't actually define a beginning or an end to it. You know, it's like a wave on the ocean, or a waveform in an oscilloscope, right? They take the wave, and a wave it starts here, it has a crest, and it has a trough, right? It peaks, and then dies down. A full cycle is a wave. Now, if I was to time slice it more thinly, the wave doesn't exist anymore, does it? I have to have this whole picture here. Because if I start doing this, I'm just going to see little lines moving around. Right? So when you step back and take the whole thing in, you see that an event is purely conceptual. That there's no event actually happening outside of our conception of it. And that what you're really experiencing is a perpetual, continual flow. Or you might say it is one eternal event. Right? So when you say nothing really exists, nothing has ever happened, you could also say everything exists, everything is happening. And I'm only witnessing one aspect in the moment. I call that an event. But you can see it's not really. Right? That's purely conceptual. Right? Are you following this? It's fascinating. But it breaks it all down, and you realize that because it's in a constant flow, right? No matter how thinly, no matter how tiny I make the time slice, I'm not going to find anything there. I'm not going to find an object. I'm not going to find a micro event, right? Because it is nothing but a flow, and it never ever becomes a static thing or a static object or a static event, which also means there is no space and there is no time. Those are all conceptual, laid upon just the infinite, eternal functioning, you might say. Does that answer it for you? Golden Tiger. Love that name. That nothing ever happens. Nothing actually exists. So you see, no thing actually exists, right? It too is a flow, right? So I refer to GP, but what is GP, right? Or Greg, somebody's calling me Greg now. What is it? It's a constant flow, right? The 15-year-old version of me as opposed to the 70-year-old version of me, right? Which one's me? Well, you can't pinpoint it, right? It's a flow. I'm that and I'm not that, right? How I appeared 1 second ago is gone for good. So what am I? Well, nothing in particular. You can't pinpoint it. Now, this is direct experience. Now, notice it completely contradicts the mind, which is always creating discrete events and objects. That's the way the mind does. It breaks up what in fact is seamless reality into piece parts. There are no piece parts for real. To understand that on a very practical level makes you let go of trying to control things. Let go of trying to make things go the way I want them to. Trying to be afraid of something that might happen. Because that's all there is. Nothing is happening. It is just a constant flow. And to really imbibe that will alleviate and eventually eliminate suffering. Because you find, oh, I am that flow. The most static thing of all is my self-concept. That's the thing I want to hold on to. But it doesn't exist. I don't exist as a concept. The concept is just that. The seamless reality made into a piece part, and this piece part I've called me. It's not me. I'm this. Does that answer it for you, Golden Tiger? Lovely. Lovely, lovely question. Robbie, thank you, GP. What a beautiful answer. You're very welcome. Pinky Floyd, I got hearts. Yay. Rebecca, hi, GP. Long time no see. Yes, I really want to quit smoking. My mom died of lung cancer a few months ago. I can't seem to want to quit bad enough, and my mind tells me it has to be a struggle. Any advice? Yes. First off, with things like this, I'm going to give you some advice, but I'm also going to break it down for you spiritually. But I'm also going to advise you to get help. Right? Go to somebody who specializes in it. Right? A therapist and the like, because they do. There are people who specialize in these kinds of things and provide support. So that you don't feel alone on it, on that journey. Also, hypnotherapy has proven to be very effective for it. So there are practical things you can do to help kind of retrain the nervous system, because that's what it is. The nervous system is just made an association between smoking and life, and it has become so intertwined that it's hard to live life without it. And believe me, you cannot forever deny yourself something that the body feels as if it's being deprived, right? You can't do it. So there's the practical steps you can take. There's also one book written by a name, Alan Carr is his name, and it's called The Easy Way to Quit Smoking. There's actually even an organization that he's passed on about 10, 15 years ago, but there's still an organization that is doing day-long events, and people come out the other side, because it's a shift in perception. It's a shift in perception, right? Because the fact of the matter is the cigarette is not addicting. We believe it to be. Our belief in it is addicting, right? That's the truth, right? Now, I'm going to insist that you don't just try to do that, but you take advantage of everything that's available to help you with that, including exercise, yoga. There's all sorts of things that you can do to reassociate, right? And that's what has to happen. Now, here's where you start. And tapping is also very effective, right? Using tapping. Here's where you start, though. Guilt. Start by releasing the guilt. I smoke. I hate smoking. Fuck it. I love myself anyway. Even though I'm a smoker and I smell like smoke, I love myself anyway. Fuck it is a very, very powerful mantra at times like these. Right? It has nothing to do with your spiritual growth. It cannot get in the way. Nisargadatta Maharaj chain smoked to the day he died. He died of throat cancer. He was a fully enlightened master. Right? Smoked when he became one. owned a little kiosco in India making cigarettes. Right? So throw out any idea that somehow this is hurting your spirituality, that it's going to keep you from waking up, that it's going to get in the way at all. Throw all of those thoughts away, because none of them are true. And just allow yourself to start letting go of the guilt. Right? St. Paul said, "There is no temptation taken you that is not common to man." We live in an addicted world. I mean, Facebook is an addiction, a very destructive one, right? There's the obvious ones of drinking and drugs and smoking, right? But shopping, spending money, running up credit cards, these are all addictions. They're all part of the thing. Gabor Mate talked about his addiction to classical music, right? Mentioning that one time he went out and spent $8,000. Now he's a doctor, with a really big salary, right? He could do that and absorb it, but he realized it's an addiction. I'm addicted. He didn't even listen to it all, right? So throw it away. Everybody's got their addictions. This is an addiction, right? It's a habit. Right? I don't need this, right? I enjoy it. It's a little bit of comfort, right? It's the affordable luxury. Do I need it? Absolutely not, right? So it's step one, let go of the guilt. Yeah, it's not needed. I may have mentioned this before, but there was a study done a while, 20 years ago, I think now, at Stanford, right? Prestigious place. And they ran a study, and they gave everybody in the study, for 30 days, they were allowed to eat whatever they wanted. The presumption, it was presented as if it was a study on sugar and the effect on the metabolism. So they did a psychological test on them, and they did a physical test, and they tested them for 30 days. And they were allowed to eat whatever they wanted to eat. Right? All the desserts in the world, as many as they want. And at the end, they totaled up all the results. Well, what it turned out was they were not studying the sugar at all. They were studying the effects of guilt. And the psychological study at the end of it revealed that the people who gained weight were all people who, even though they had permission, because it was an official study, still felt guilty about eating it. And the people who said, "All right, I have permission, I can eat what I damn well please," and didn't feel guilty, did not gain any weight. Guilt was the determining factor, not the food. Right? So let yourself let it go. If you really let yourself feel into it, you'll find how much guilt is behind it. You may even find that the guilt was there before the smoking. And now it's just got something it can cling to. And I do find that a lot of times addictions are ways in which the mind distracts itself from going to the real pain, which is something else. And now I'm completely absorbed in this. The real culprit gave rise to it is over here somewhere, right? So let go of the guilt. Who gives a shit if you're smoking or not? I don't care. God doesn't care. It's going to have no effect on your awakening. And the truth of the matter is, when it's your time to die, you're going to die. It has nothing to do with these conditions. Nothing. That's the truth. when it's your turn, right? And it doesn't matter. Yes, there'll be something, a cause attributed to it, because the mind can't fathom the idea that there actually isn't a cause. But there isn't. There isn't a cause, except this system, this functioning has run its course. It's done. Period. Stop. That's it. A heart attack. Well, all that means is the system said, time up. Boom. Stopped. That's all it is. We try to avoid it, and we can't avoid it. We cannot avoid it. Now, that doesn't mean I encourage everybody to go out and eat Krispy Kreme donuts and drink nothing but Coca-Cola, because I don't. But in the last result, who cares? In the last analysis, who cares? Right? What matters? Awakening. That's what matters. And the compassionate heart. That's what matters. Make that the priority. The rest will become easier. And get help. Yeah, get help. Right? I know a lot of really good hypnotherapists, and it is effective in these kinds of things. So let go of the guilt. It's nothing to be ashamed of. We're all in this boat together, and love you. Just let us all just love you. Beautiful. Oh, hope that helps you, Rebecca. Neutrality is not calling me Greg. The awareness is, it can't ever be defined. Any definition will ultimately neglect it. Any definition will simply be a conception of it. And, that's why I do meditations the way I do, to get out of the conception into direct experience of being. The direct experience of being, it starts with the body, which is what's being experienced, but now you're experiencing the body without the story about it. It's pure experience. Then you can fall back to that next step of, what is it that's experiencing? Because the thoughts, emotion, and sensations are this constant flow, but what's aware of it? And then you begin to taste that presence that is not flowing. It's not a thing, but it's absolutely unmoving, unchanging. It's totally fixed. It's solid as a rock. Right? It's unmovable, but it's not a thing. And yet, from here, all the coming and going of what we call things, which we now explained before aren't things at all, right, is being witnessed by that which is not a thing. And is not coming and going. And that's the peace. So we use words as we're talking about it. And the moment I say talk about pure awareness, immediately your mind conceptualizes it. I'm merely talking about you. I'm talking about the experience of being that you are experiencing right now. Right? All of you are here. You all exist. You are all experiencing. That's it. That's the whole. The whole cosmic mystery right there. And it is a mystery because you can't name it. What the hell is it? It just is. I just am. But it's got to go from being it just is to I just am. I just am. The only thing you could call a characteristic or an attribute of me is I exist, is beingness. And there's not two there, something that exists. There's just pure existence, which is awareness. And you are it. I am that. Keep bringing that home. It is not a state you arrive at. And all of our words eventually just kind of, they can be put away. And interestingly enough, the more you discover that, the better you are with words. The more accurate and precise and fun and poetic you can be with the words and stories and everything else. So, thank you, neutrality. And she called me Greg. That's funny. Oh, did I miss one? Oh, David. Yes. Oh, no. The awareness is. Again, everybody. Any different? Does that mean awareness is formless? Yes, of course. Anytime there's a definition, it has a form, right? It could be a subtle form, right? Like a concept, an object of mind, but it becomes a thing, right? Right. And that's okay as a concept. Oh, a thing. And I could talk about a thing, and we can have thing parties, right? And talk about things. We can make up stories about things. But then we also know at the same time, no thing actually exists, right? It's not a thing. It's simply an aspect. It's a definition laid on something that doesn't have a definition, right? It still appears within it. It's an aspect of it, because any kind of delineation you make is going to be an aspect of it. But the whole, absolutely formless. It just is. It is isness itself, right? Don't give this to your mind. It's just going to go, it's either going to freak out or go, oh yeah, isness, and make up a new concept, right? Yes, beautiful. Can't be defined. Any definition will ultimately neglect it. Does that mean awareness is formless? Yes. Let's say there is a form which is immortal. Can it be compared to awareness? Immortality is the recognition that there isn't any permanent form. Nothing takes form, not even for a split second. Form never actually happens. It is because it never becomes stagnant. The form is always a flow that appears as a form, right? It's always a flow, right? I saw a beautiful diagram of the atom. You know, the atom is usually seen, you got the nucleus and you got the electrons flying around it. But because that's a snapshot, right? They're never actually there, the electrons. And so I pictured this incredibly beautiful, subtle, even sensual. It was kind of where they're probably going to be. And it made this most beautiful thing, but it became a form, right? And yet there's no form there. These things are just this spinning. Buddha used to use the example of the fire, of the fire wheel. You know, if you ever seen somebody juggling or baton twirling fire, right? It's going so fast it looks like there's a ring there. There's no ring, right? That's an illusion, right? So no thing actually exists. There's only this perpetual flow. And this flow is the nature of being itself. So awareness and the flow of awareness are not two. Awareness aware of itself is perpetual awareness, which is forever creating the self-image of itself, the self-knowingness of itself, and that knowingness is what we call the universe. Everything that appears. But no thing ever appears. Gosh, it strikes me as funny. Because it is. Everything appears and nothing appears. That's the arcane language of Zen. It both exists and does not exist. It is and it isn't. It's beyond all of our categorizations. So just forget about all the categorizations and just call it by its street name, me. I am that. That's the wonder. I am that. David Yeager. David, GP, when you answered Carl's questions earlier, you said, take on others' suffering non-empathetically, like Jesus taking on the sins of the world. Can you explain the difference of not doing it as an empathic? Yeah, sure. As long as there's a sense of a person taking on the sins of another person or the feelings of another person, there will be suffering in the one taking it on. Right? You must be free of that, in which case, when the suffering is taken on, it's taken on by presence. It's taken on by the self, and therefore is transmuted. It doesn't stop here and create more suffering, right? It just moves right through and out, right? Back into its essence. Go be something else. So that's the difference. And I hear it a lot of time. I've seen it a lot of times, and people have commented, people have asked me. They identify with being an empathic, right? Because they're sensitive to others. And that's real. There are people who are simply more sensitive to the feelings than others. It's a capacity we all have, but some more naturally fell into it, right? And others cultivated it over time. So you can kind of feel it. I became very aware of it early on, that I had that, and because I was proud of it, I suffered, right? Later on, I began to realize that, oh my God, it's not personal. So I could alleviate the suffering. And in fact, if you're going to be any kind of a healer, it's absolutely essential. That's how you know. That's how when I teach people to coach using EFT or inner reconciliation or meditation, any of these things, you're monitoring whoever you're working with, not by reading their minds, but by feeling your own body, but feeling that without identification. There's the difference. I'm just now sensing, right? I'm allowing myself to vibrate in harmony with what's going on, so that I can interpret correctly and transmute that energy. Right? Now, the empathic who's proud of that, and I hear them all the time going, I just take it on and I suffer. I can't be around people. I just take on too much. I can't listen to people telling their stories. Well, it's an identification. They have not, and they shouldn't. They should stay away from groups. They should not take this on until they have learned how to be the real nature of their own feelings and to allow themselves to be present with their own feeling. If I'm resistant to my feeling, I'm going to be resistant to others. So once I'm more adept at this practice of allowing, and I can really be present with stuff without preference, without reacting, without taking sides, I can just let it be there, even when it's uncomfortable or intense. At that point, I've cultivated the capacity to allow the energy of others to move through me as well. And in fact, the more you do this with allowing, the more it's just going to happen naturally. You can't help it, right? Because if you're willing to allow your feelings, the other name for that is unconditional love. You're actually loving, right? You're letting these feelings be there instead of pushing them away, even if they're not pleasant or ugly. You let them be there. That's loving. That's compassion. That's unconditional love. And if you're in that state with yourself, others are going to notice it. They might not even notice consciously, right? But you're in a group of people. Everybody's nervous system is looking for the safest place to be in that room. Everyone's. And if it senses a safe being over here, boom, they're going to migrate towards it. It's essential. It's forever seeking that place of safety, and so it will seek out the safest place in the room, and that just may happen to be you. Okay? So it'll happen all by itself. You don't have to hang out a shingle. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to think of yourself as empathic. Again, that's a concept that's gotten laid upon what in fact is just the experience of self-acceptance and self-love. Real self-acceptance and self-love, which is I allow myself to feel what I'm feeling when I'm feeling it. That's all it means, right? And then we make up names for it. I'm psychic, or I'm empathic, and And those, the moment you put a word on it, becomes a concept, it gets a story, it gets all sorts of associations, it gets removed from the actual experience itself. And this whole process of non-dual self-inquiry is to go back to the actual experience prior to our thoughts and concepts of it, which color it, they distort it, right? So we experience it directly. It's what Ramana Maharshi meant when he said, go back the way you came. Out of the conceptual, back to the direct experience. From the direct experience, you can go beyond it to the absolute experiencer, which is not a person, but simply pure awareness. Okay, I think I answered you, David, yeah? If not, you'll tell me. Thank you, says Golden Tiger. You're welcome. Thank you, GP. That made things a little easier for me. Good, good, good. The biggest problem with addictions is guilt. 90% of the problem is guilt, which tends to hold it in place. Yeah. Just really, yeah. Guilt-free existence. And of course, guilt is stock and trade in our world, right? I mean, Adam and Eve, I mean, it's supposed to be, it's all about guilt, and like, oh my God, what a nightmare. Okay. Whack. Thank you very much for your time and help, even though there is no time. You're welcome. Thank you, GP, for all your peaceful wisdom. Carl, you're welcome. Renee. Let's spread the love. Hello from Philly. Hello, Renee. Are you new? I think I may see some new ones. David and Elaine, thank you for another beautifully deep, insightful, and clear satsang. You're welcome. David, yes. Thank you, GP. Well, an hour and 41 minutes in, and have we exhausted the questions? Have the answers been just so damn good that there are no more questions? Colleen, who or what is speaking? Well, what can something that is not conscious speak? Either speak or hear. Does that not require consciousness? So, no person is speaking. That's a belief. That's just an idea. And the idea is based on the fact that when speaking happens, to speak creates the energy of awareness to express itself, creates a form through which it is expressed. Speaking can't exist without a mouth and lungs and air and everything to speak. And so this is the manifestation of speaking. Right? It is awareness speaking to awareness, in awareness. Right? So there's no person, because of this idea that the vehicle of expression of awareness, which is awareness, right, exists independently of awareness and is a person, and a person gets projected upon the body. So now there's this idea of someone who is speaking, but there's nobody here speaking. GP does not exist, okay? Gregory Paul does not exist. It is a concept. It is a pure fabrication. The self is all that exists. The self is speaking. Right? The Buddha is speaking. The Buddha is hearing. There's nothing but that. The idea of someone is just an idea. It's a concept. It's not true. You are that. Lovely. Colleen, thank you for that. I hope that brings you closer, right? There's only nothing. The answer to all questions is you. You are the answer. Whatever the question is the answer. Oh, I am what's speaking. I am what's hearing. Wow. Ava, love the satsangs, wisdom and love manifesting in form of your answers and guidelines. Yes, and there's nobody here. Yes, you are so good, Ravi. Yes, the answers are so damn good. Thank you again for your generosity. Well, thank you all. And you just guess you're going to give me 15 more minutes to my day today. Ah, lovely friends, lovely, lovely, lovely. So good to see you all. It's so good to spend this time with you from all over the world. It's just really, wow. So when I'm crazily talking to myself, it's just me. It feels like schizophrenia. Thank you for bringing that up. When you're crazily talking to yourself, I want you to notice something. Notice that there's a flow of thoughts. Remember, I just said there's nobody speaking, right? It is simply awareness manifesting itself in speaking and hearing. So when you're noticing crazy talk in the mind, notice that there's this talk, which is what a flow of thoughts, right? That's all it is a flow of thoughts going on. And there's something else looking at it, isn't there? Right? Now, are you the flow of thoughts or are you the one looking at it? Right? And that which is looking at it, are the flow of thoughts calling themselves crazy, or is there some discernment there going, this is crazy? Well, how would it know it's crazy unless it knew what not crazy is? What sane is, what wisdom is. Notice, you are looking at that from the point of view of clear-sighted wisdom. Now, there's a sense that, I don't like it, I got to get rid of it, right? But put that aside, right? It doesn't matter whether it's there or not, right? If we really want to be free, we want to be free whether something's there or not. That's real freedom. So just notice, there's this crazy thinking going on, and I'm aware of it. All right, go ahead, crazy thinking, go on. I hereby release all of my attachment to getting rid of it or doing something with it, and just notice it. Oh, I know it's crazy. How do I know? Oh, I must be looking at it from a point of view that is not crazy. Boom, notice. You now have settled back into the self, the awareness of it. That's all there is to realization. I am the awareness of this. And this is simply appearing in me. Crazy, sane, happy, sad, all the various yin and yang of life, all the ups and downs, tense joy and tense grief, all of it. No matter what it is, I sit here aware of it. I am the awareness of it. This is what I am. Yay. Thank you, says Jennifer. Thank you. Thank you, Plan. Thank you, all the clouds. Thank you very much, Susan. I don't think anything could help me feel better today, but Satsang did it. I didn't think anything did it. Did lift something, just enough. My gratitude. Yes. I didn't think anything could make me feel better today. Just notice that that's just a thought. And no matter what the feeling is, I don't care how shitty it is, it's always temporary, isn't it? Although when that feeling is there, there's so much resistance, it feels like it's never going to go away, and the mind says, nothing can snap me out of this. And then something does. So the next time the mind says, it's never going to change, go, I know you're not telling me the truth. Because it has. Every single time. Beautiful. Colleen said, everything has just gotten ramped up since seeing I'm nothing, everything. Feels like a last... Oh, yeah. Yeah, the egoic mind's days are numbered, right? So it's busy working, right? This is what is meant in the book of Revelation, where it says that the devil was thrown out of heaven. The war in heaven, right, symbolizes the sense of the true self and the false self, and that it finally did get thrown out of heaven during the war, right? And the devil, the obstructor, the egoic mind, right? And it's said into earth, that is, into the body, into the nervous system, into the parts that still need to be redeemed. And then it said that the devil wandered to and fro around the earth because he knew he had just a short time. Its days are numbered, right? Yeah, there's no turning back. This bell cannot be unrung. Beautiful, 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 Colleen. Yay. Jennifer, yeah, it all included. Thank you. You're welcome. Gratitude for your kindness to teach us to be an observer of true self. You're very welcome, Isabel. Very, very welcome. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll do it again next week. I don't know how long I've been doing it now, but it's 5 years, 6 years. I've been doing it for a while. Maybe longer. Anyway, I'll keep doing it. Every Sunday. All right, everyone. All my love to you. Until next time. Namaste.